Watch this to find out why just adding tons of activity is a terrible way to burn body fat in the long term.
Our next caller is Ryan from California.
Ryan, what's happening, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, before I get started, I want to say thanks. I probably started listening like a year or two before COVID, and you guys have such a positive message around fitness, nutrition, and just like family in general, and how you go about business, and just kind of like seeing different things in the world from different angles. So I think that's like really needed in 2022. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you,
Brad.
Yeah, so my main question is just around MAP Split. I'm running that right now, and currently I'm riding my bike into work to try to save some money on gas. So it's about 3.5 miles in the office, 3.5 miles back, obviously. And I was wondering, like, MAP Split, I'm 2 weeks into it, and was wondering, do I reduce the step count? Phase one's like 10,000 steps. So do I reduce it? And if so, like how much? Or do I just keep that step count consistent on top of riding that bike?
Oh,
So, we got this question before, and the way I answer it to somebody who's like already like stepping that much or more is to look at each phase and the percentage that we increase over phase, and then just consider where you're at now as phase one, your baseline, and then your goal should be as you transition to each phase to increase by whatever that percentage is.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Ryan, what's your goal?
Yeah, totally.
What's your goal with Split? What's your goal with the program?
Yeah, I mean, long story short, I used to be 330 pounds. Now I'm around 220, and I've kind of gone up and down. And I'm kind of like struggling, like trying to find that metabolism, because like I've done like mini bulks and like mini cuts. So like with Split, with the increased step counter and being like more active throughout the day by, just walking around, trying to like reduce body fat. And like I always like to do it around the holidays because it's more like harder challenge with like eggnog and like peppermint bark and all that stuff. So I like to challenge myself a little bit harder from like Thanksgiving or Christmas. So I hopefully to reduce body fat during that program.
Okay, so don't use activity is a terrible way to try and lose weight. Now, I'm not saying activity is not important or just moving is not important. It's good for health, but don't use that as the fat loss tool, because if you do, you'll lose. And I don't mean lose body fat. You'll lose the battle, because the body adapts very quickly to extra activity, and it ends up spiraling into this like crazy, like I'm doing all kinds of exercise more and more and more because my body adapted. So the diet is where you'll get the body fat loss. Because you're riding your bike 3.5 miles to and from work, that's a decent amount of activity.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with even not walking if you don't want to. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying if your goal is body fat, then I wouldn't worry so much about like how much more I need to move in order to burn body fat. That comes from your diet. And honestly, if you push the activity too hard, you're not doing this now, but you could get into a place where you're doing so much extra activity to continue to, it adapts, your body adapts, and you add more, and then adapts, and you add more, that you actually take away from the muscle building process that you're getting from the strength training program. And that'll kill your fat loss gains in the long term.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. So what are you following after Split, by the way?
I think I was going to do probably strength, and then probably going to like hit Split again right after strength.
You mean strong, MAP Strong?
Strong, sorry, yeah.
Do you have that program?
I do, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I like Symmetry. I think that's a good program that everybody should run at least once. And then because you're doing so much biking, it's a good idea because it's such a repetitive movement. I do like MAPS Prime Pro for correctional work. So that'd be something else that I think would be a value for you. But I'll send you Symmetry. Do you have Symmetry? If you don't, I'll send it to you.
I don't, yeah. I really appreciate it too, because like I tore my rotator cuff in college, so like now I'm all like lopsided. So I definitely know I can feel it sometimes. So I try to really do, like Bulgarian split squats and like single arm like bench and things like that with the dumbbells to try to like even it out. But I haven't done a dedicated program to that kind of thing.
Okay, good. So I'll send you Symmetry, and then I do think Prime Pro would be valuable too.
Cool, awesome. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thanks for calling in.
Best luck.
Have a good one.
Yeah, we put the steps in there really just to increase somebody's movement, but you do got to be careful at using movement as a way to lose body fat. It's a losing strategy. It doesn't work very long. and then you're stuck in this position where you're doing hella movement. Your metabolism tends to adapt, and then you're like, oh, now what happens when I stop? And you get in this like downward spiral.
Always good to bring that up because I really do feel like that's still the common thought process, and what's being marketed the most is to be able to increase activity, increase cardiovascular output. That's going to be your best way to shave down the body fat. When in fact, focusing more on your nutrition and just utilizing resistance training for what it's best at. Strength and muscle building is where to go.
Well, the real thought process behind the step goals for people was really to model it similar after like how I would coach a competitive client.
Yeah, because it's a bodybuilding program.
Yeah, and the idea was I would encourage more frequent low intensity type of movement throughout the day before I would say get on the treadmill and go for an hour and run or do the elliptical.
It was more lifestyle.
Yeah, it was more lifestyle based. Now, if you already have a lifestyle where you're very active, this is less important, right? Because this person is riding a bike to and from work, which is very, very active in comparison to the average person. And then if he's also walking quite a bit, that doesn't mean he still can't use the formula of the percentage of steps like I recommended to him, but it becomes less important to somebody who's starting off at 15, 20,000 steps a day. It really is ideally to encourage the average person that wants to sculpt their body to utilize just walking and moving throughout the day before they start scheduling this, hour routine of cardio, which is less likely to be sustainable, right? It's more likely that if I can encourage a client to walk after a meal or get up early in the morning, go for a nice little half-hour walk or end their day with a half-hour walk, it's more likely that they will maintain something like that for the rest of life versus, hey, I want you to do an hour of the Stairmaster after your workout every day. Like that's less likely for them to stick with consistently.